Well, welcome back to another episode of the Perception Evolution Project and the Blue is the New White series. I'm here with John Cahalan, right? That's how you say it?
That's right. Yeah.
All right, John Cahalan today out of Chicago. John is heading up our account for XOI platform. Some of you might have seen the other podcast I did with CEO Aaron. If you haven't, check that out now. But I think John's going to have a pretty interesting story for us today, at least his personality would suggest. So without further ado, John Cahalan, tell me your story.
All right. So you want me to start from the beginning?
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just dive right in.
All right. Cold day in March. So I come from a family of people that have spent their lives working with their hands. So my dad actually, longest and first job he ever had as a grown adult was in a paper plate factory. He was the plant manager, ended up being the GM, ended up getting canned on his birthday after 30 years as the VP. They got bought out and it was kind of a thing. But I spent my life growing up in that factory. And so if you've ever seen paper plates get made and the presses run, it is one of the coolest things that you can ever come across. But I spent my life playing on forklifts and live in that world. Spent my summers loading rail cars and trucks with these boxes that shipped all over the country. The paper plate still exists today. It's one of the coolest things to be able to see. But growing up in a small town in Florida, that was it. That was my life. I spent my summers working there, weekends working there. Lakeland, Florida. Yeah, it's between Tampa and Orlando. It's gotten a lot bigger now, which is a good thing for the town. But when I was there, it was pretty small. So, yeah, I spent my summers working there, and then I got into construction and worked for a local company called Rada Construction. They do a lot of work between, obviously, Lakeland, Tampa, and Orlando. Obviously started out as the gopher in high school days, just kind of doing everything I needed to do, being the guy that would go get what needed to be got, and I kind of hitched my wagon to some guys there that brought me along in a fantastic way. So from there, I went and worked for a company called Allied Modular Building Systems. So it's actually a modular building company where I spent a lot of time as a project manager, but more of a hands-on approach. And for those of you that may not know what modular buildings are, it's essentially structures that can be, obviously, they're prefab, so built in a manufacturing plant, which allows for, obviously, less waste and the less amount of people. And so what we have the ability to do is actually create something in a very short period of time, ships in panel sets, everything's pre-cut, prefabbed, and it's more of a plug and play when it gets in the field. Now, we did more extensive stuff, such as large two-story indoor things, giant, kind of dividing walls that would go in factories to separate process control, things like that. And we also did really extensive guard houses, things that people need to be able to drop on, do something, and then pick them up and move them later. So everything was, forkliftable, and you could take it wherever you wanted. After leaving there, I had an opportunity to join, as you mentioned, Aaron Salo at XOI Technologies. I've been there for 5.5 years and spend all of our time working with mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractors.
Very cool. All right. So let's pick that apart a little bit.
All right.
So growing up, your dad working in this factory.
Yep.
So is it fair to say that, like in your high school days, that you understood what the trades were? You kind of knew. Okay, good. And that's a head start that a lot of people these days I don't think have. Even when I was in high school, I didn't really know. I knew what a trade was, mm-hmm. but I didn't know what was all involved in it. So, when you were in high school, did you go to college?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. What'd you go to college for?
I went to college for sports management.
Sports management. Big sports guy.
They sent me, big sports guy, and for those of you that aren't going to like this, University of Florida, they gave me a book on the first day and said, pick a major. And I'm an 18-year-old kid. And I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked people and sports. And so I found that, and that was it. And have I ever used it? No. But that's what I graduated with. And I know this is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, but that's kind of, it's been something that I look back on and kind of wonder why I actually did it.
So let's dive into that. Why did you do it? I mean, is it something that kind of your family was like, hey, this is a good path, and dissect the circumstances for
Yeah.
me when you were in high school and you made the decision to go to college and go that path.
So I come from a family of four. I'm one of four, so I'm the second one. My brother was an exceptional athlete and an exceptional academic student. So, I mean, the guy could have went to Notre Dame, could have went to Wake Forest, could have done all those things and actually played ball as well. But he actually stayed home, went local. It was kind of, my parents wanted me to go to college.
With the best of intentions, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Of course.
And you know, my mom growing up, she used to get up at 3 a.m. and go make donuts. Like that was her job. She was one of 7, and everybody fought and scratched for everything they could get. So they just, you know, college seemed like what you should do.
Sure.
I was a good student. University of Florida, and in the state of Florida, they give out tons of scholarships. I actually went to college per semester for $375. So as far as the ROI is concerned, I mean, it's tremendous. But I remember vividly being in school my freshman year, about halfway through the spring semester, and just thinking, I'm just going through the motions. Like, this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. I want to go out into the workforce and actually understand who I want to become and the avenues that could exist to me, which for me, being in school, I felt like I was kind of trapped. Mm-hmm. I felt like once you're in, it's kind of like, all right, you got to finish, and you're kind of, this is your major, and this is what you're doing, and you know, that's where it was. So I think looking back, I probably would have, you know, especially now with the fact of the rising debt that kids have these days, I probably would have made a different decision.
Somewhere to the tune of 1.5 trillion.
Somewhere to the tune of that. Yes.
Yeah. So when did you actually make the decision then to get into the construction side of things? Was it after college?
It was after college.
Okay.
Yeah. So I put myself through school. I actually worked as a barback.
Oh, cool.
And so literally spent 5-6 nights a week just schlepping beers up and down stairs and across the way. So I got into actually working with the guys that actually maintained our bar. And so I got to keep my hands on that. So I was working with a lot of refrigeration equipment, obviously, which you can completely agree with. Yeah. And I knew at that point in time that sitting behind a desk for me was not going to be what I wanted to do. I wanted the freedom to be able to, obviously have multitudes of opportunity anywhere in the country, not be limited to a region. And at the same time, for me, there's something about working with your hands and being able to see something from start to finish come into play. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that happens in a lot of careers and a lot of jobs that people have. And so, when I started thinking about it, construction just lended itself to one of those things where I already had a little bit of a background in it. I mean, I came from a manufacturing family. I knew enough to be dangerous. And then, I just found the right opportunity. Someone took a chance and never looked back.
Very cool. So you had a desire then to work with your hands,
oh.
And I think that's where the line gets drawn sometimes with the college education, because they teach the theoretical application instead of the practical application a lot of times, at least in some in some studies, and those who enjoy working with their hands then are just, that desire's always going to be there. I was the same way. I used to take my toys apart as kids and not know how to put them back together. My parents really loved that, day after Christmas. And, so, I think that's really cool. So when you got into construction then, you had a manufacturing understanding. Mm-hmm. Did you start at the bottom then in construction and have to learn just about every aspect of what you did before you took that next step? How was that journey, in that company? Yeah,
so with them, it obviously being, when you look at it, it's manufacturing and construction in that pre-built world. Mm-hmm. So I came in with the understanding, obviously, of the manufacturing side from just my childhood. On the construction side, I knew enough to be dangerous, the things that you needed to know. So, yeah, I did start early on, obviously became a project manager, but spent some time with the install crews, obviously running around, actually assembling our products. Because, you figure we're shipping everything. We're shipping, obviously, what we call raceways that house the electrical between two panels that come together. So you have a channel that you can feed, whether you want to do Cat 5, whether you want to do just, obviously standard power, and you're putting all this together. We have roof decking, different types of it. So it's literally you're assembling a building, and you can do it in 2 days, which is, and I mean, you're talking, a 40 by 22 story you could have done in a week. And it's
wow, that's amazing.
It's one of those things where that to me, I think really brought me to this point of, one of the things I love in my life is efficiency. Like, I'm one of those cats that look at a phone and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make all the right turns I can because I know I can turn right on red. Like, that's just what I'm going to do. And that kind of seeing this world and how efficient it was, it really made me appreciate everything that was going on. And that satisfaction that you get from having nothing and building something came quickly. I mean, it's not a project you're waiting 6, 8, 12, 18 months to see completed. We were turning things around, moving from site to site every other week.
That's cool.
Putting a full building together, allowing people to move into it and get the space they need. And we did a lot of other unique stuff. I mean, our company did clean room type applications. We did, obviously, the giant divider walls that you're actually, you go in, you're looking 60 feet in the air, and we're constructing these panels that are essentially put together almost like a jigsaw puzzle, panel on top of panel on top of panel. So there was a lot of creativity that also came with this job, but the big thing for me was the problem solving. You have somebody reach out to you and they have a problem. And I mean, in this day and age, I get to work with technicians where customers say the same thing. They reach out to the techs and they say, I have a problem. I think the ability for me to be able to go onto a site and say, how can we solve it in the best way for you? How can we get this done for you? And I can be as creative as I want as long as I fix it.
Right.
But, there were so many aspects of it that I loved. Really was a leap of faith to leave that job because I did love every bit of what we did. But looking back now, 5.5 years later from joining XOI, I wouldn't change an absolute thing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the perception of the trades. I think that you had your perception of the trades as you were growing up because you had a family in it. So you probably saw the character and a lot of the good in it, which I think a lot of people don't. They think they know what they know because of what they see on TV or how people who aren't in the trades or don't have family in the trades talk about it.
Correct.
So what do you think some of the most common perceptions are in this day and age of tradespeople?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I think for those that are uninformed and don't come from a family that is somewhat blue collar, and I think that term gets tossed around a lot too because it's just, when I think blue collar, I think hardworking people that work with their hands. And it could be any job. It doesn't have to be just the trades. But when you think about the trades, I think most people think unintelligent. I think that's what people think.
Yeah.
And that's a very sad thing. I think they think, I think people in general think that they shouldn't go into the trades because they can't make any money. I think that people think that there is not a lot of room for growth, continued education. I think they feel like they're going to be pigeonholed into being a plumber and plunge in the same toilet, but at somebody's house, a different house, every day for the rest of their lives. And I think that keeps people away. And it's really a sad thing because, I some of the best people I know in this world and some of the smartest people I know were in the trades. Looking back at my childhood, my dad had a maintenance manager that he hired when he became the GM, and his name was Sonny. Sonny could not read and could not write, but Sonny could fix anything. Sonny had a mind that could take this thing apart, every bolt, every screw, everything you needed. You could toss it in a bag, shake it up like it's a salad, pour it back out, and he would be able to put it back together in no time. But the guy couldn't read. His intellect was further than, honestly, anybody that I knew because he had this ability for spatial recognition and problem solving and the ability to see how something actually worked. Anybody can be taught how to read and write if they actually put the time in. But that skill that he had, that intellect that he had, I honestly have seen very few people, and I've been around a lot of really smart technicians, field personnel, and all that. There are very few that I've seen that kind of come to that level.
Well, and I think that's important. Everybody's a genius in their own right. It goes back to that saying: if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Where did you get that?
My book. But somebody else said it first. But but it's the truth. I mean, because that's a perfect example. Sure, he couldn't read or write, but he could do something better than probably anybody else in the country, maybe in the world. Who knows? But the point is that he was a genius, and in some sense. And I think that's what people forget, because everybody tries to put a label on what qualifies you as smart or intelligent. And with college, it's theoretical. It's working with your mind. But people forget that working with your hands, you need your mind to work with your hands. So it's just a different dynamic that is a little strange that more light isn't shed on it. You know what I mean? So how do we change that perception? Everything that you listed.
Man, I think, for one, we all, myself included, need to be more vocal. Mm-hmm. And you're doing a tremendous job of that. I mean, obviously with the book you're coming out with, I mean, those are things that are going to help shed light on what that is. Obviously with the high schools, going to more STEM approached is a big thing. But I think it's actually, just spitballing here. You have take your daughter to work day or take your son to work day, right? I think it would be a great thing if we all know somebody who's in the trades. And instead of a take your daughter, take your son to work day, go to work with a tradesman for a day.
It's a great idea.
See what they do and see what it's all about. People just don't, exposing people to the opportunities is going to be a lot easier with technology the way that it is.
Yeah.
I mean, because the continuing education classes and the levels you can reach both on a mechanical side, refrigeration side, plumbing, electrical, becoming journeyman, I mean, these are milestone things that, anybody can look at a list and say, okay, there's plenty of room for growth here. Technology is going to shed the light on what we can do across the board with this. I think the tough part, and I think what drives a lot of people, is they don't believe they can make a good enough living to raise the family they believe they want to have in their mind in the trades. And I think that inhibits a lot of people, because I think we live in a world where, just like your fish story, you're judging a fish, and you can't judge a fish by watching it climb a tree. I think we all look at success differently in different points of our life.
Yes.
And for a lot of people probably coming out of school, that success is deemed with a dollar amount tied to it. Mm-hmm. And I think, I know technicians that they love their trade, they love the problem solving, they love the growth, but one of the best things they love is they are never away from home for long periods of time, and they go home at the end of the day and they get to spend time with their family and with their kids, and this is what it's all about. And so I think it's letting people know the tremendous amounts of opportunities that just having a background in the trades allows you to go into, these different industries that are not going to be trade specific, but at the same time letting people see that you can have everything you want and live a fantastic life by this, because the opportunity for making a ton of money is endless.
Yeah.
And especially now.
Absolutely, especially now. And, we're going to talk about opportunities and kind of your transition from, the construction side of things to XOI. Yeah. But before I do, while we're still on, like the character and everything of a tradesman, what is the biggest lesson that the trades themselves taught you in your travels through it? Because there's a lot of lessons, and I talk a lot about a lot of them in my book, but everybody has specific things that, they took away from it.
Yeah. I'd say the word respectful is the biggest one, and I mean that in multitudes of ways. Obviously, especially when you're dealing with somebody who, may be upset with something that you're there to fix for them. Being respectful of, obviously, where they are and their anger and their frustration and all of that. But that's one side of it. But I think the biggest thing is being respectful of your craft and the fact that you need to, whatever trade you're in, it will be challenging.
Yeah.
And you need to prepare, you need to continually learn, you need to continually study. And what I love about it, you cannot be complacent.
Yep.
You may have done something 398 times perfect and you're in autopilot with it. The moment you hit 399 and you just kind of let things fall, that's when you can hurt yourself, you can break something, you can cause a ton of damage. And to me, that's, some people might hear that and be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. It's like, but that's the thing about being respectful of it. These are not simple tasks.
Yeah.
And if you want to challenge yourself, you have to be aware of that. And so I think that's what it taught me. It taught me, listen, you got to be respectful of every encounter you're going to run into in your life. Whether it's the preparation for sitting down and talking with you on something like this, whether it's writing a book on shining light on the blue-collar industry, or whether it's just generally going out and speaking to people about it, you have to be able to prepare for it. And I think that's what a common theme I've seen with a lot of blue-collar people is that they prepare to work through their craft and solve the problems better than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I think that, I talk a lot about the lessons that you learn in the trades and how they directly translate to your life outside of the trades, outside of your profession. And, I think that's a wonderful lesson that anybody can learn just and utilize in their everyday life, and to not be complacent, never think that you are the best at something because, there's going to come a time where you're going to make a mistake, you're going to meet somebody better, but there's always opportunities for you to take advantage of that and grow, at your craft and, as yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, just generally as a person. So let's shift a little bit. Let's talk a little more about the opportunities within the trades, because like you had mentioned, somebody may think that if they're a plumber, they're going to be fixing the same toilet, 398 times. And, but one thing that I've noticed is that the trades, no matter where you start, which is usually working with your hands or as a technician or what have you, the trajectories that you can take it from there are seemingly endless.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you've got management, you've got sales, you've got installs, you've got technology nowadays. I mean, all of this is part of the trades, and are directions that don't exist in a lot of different career paths.
Yep.
So you went from construction to working with a software company.
Yeah.
Now, explain that to me.
All right. So, Aaron Salo is our CEO of XOI. Aaron and I actually worked at the construction company together. Aaron comes from a manufacturing construction background, and that's where I actually met him. Him and I we were working at a Goodlettsville, Tennessee together, and we would constantly talk about, everybody has those pipe dreams of like, hey, when I get out, hey, if I start something, I'd love to bring you on and all this and that and the other. It's just employees being employees, Aaron took the leap, and he left, a job that he was doing fantastic work at. He actually ran our clean room division, so he was integral in the business, and started to build XOI. And about a year later, when it had legs and passed a particular inflection point of when it was just R&D and concept, he said, dude, do you want to come on? And for all of you out there, I still have a flip phone. Like, I know I'm out there, talking about technology and how it changes the world, but I'm a very simple guy. So when it came to the software aspect of it, I had a lot to learn. But again, coming from the background of literally how I grew up and the people that kind of shaped my world in the blue collar industry, is like, challenges come each and every day. Just go ahead and attack it. You're not going to know everything. You have to learn it. And so that's where I was kind of sitting there. I was like, all right, talked it over with my wife, or back then she was my fiance, decided to make the move. It has been probably the most gratifying professional thing I've ever done. And it's because I get to travel the country and sit down with organizations just like yours and listen and talk to your technicians and about the pain points in their life. What what is causing headaches for them? How can technology make their life easier? And you said it, it's all becoming one. It's all these opportunities existing. I haven't done it with your guys, but I still strap on my steel-toed boots when I need to, and I get to go on site and literally solve problems with technicians still. I get to be out there and scratch that itch that is always going to be crawling for a guy that wants to be out there, solving problems. But it's more about being able to look at how the trades are kind of evolving and how technology can play that part, but also at the same time seeing the growth of the industry and the people. I mean, I know technicians that when I first got into XOI, all they were doing were running PMs. And now we're looking 5 years later, and these guys are some of very smart, very experienced technicians because they've worked their ass off.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it's great. So, the transition was unique. I can tell you that, but it's a great opportunity to be able to sit in rooms and look in a company and feel like you're a part of it and have a common goal with them and the technicians as to how they envision their job with this ever-changing environment and how they can be a better technician both for the customer themselves and for the company all at the same time.
Yeah, and that's evident with you because,
Appreciate it.
Really, it is. And even the first meeting that we had, and you spoke the language. You sat down with me and Miles and James, and then they understood exactly what you were saying and exactly what the benefits were of this software because you understand what problem you're trying to fix. So it's got to be a unique perspective now for you being on the outside looking in and kind of being able to help form the way that the industry is going. I mean, that's a huge, when I talk about trajectories, it's usually not one that I talk about because it's not a common one. I mean, it's definitely a trajectory, but I think that that's one that a lot of people would really love to be a part of, if they started in the trades, because now you're working both with your hands and on the theoretical side of things, and it's just a different way of building something.
No, it's funny you say that, and I immediately start thinking, whenever you're tracing back wires, you're just following a path to try and find out what the problem is, so you can solve it. And if I was to put what I get to do every day into an analogy, that would be it. And so you're right; it is the ability to do that. I think that as people, hopefully people that look at this and think they're going to be, getting in and out of the same truck every day for the next 30 years, plunging in the same toilet or just changing the same filters, can see that, like you said, there's so many different avenues. Because I never in 100 years would have said, my start is going to be, loading rail cars in the summer in Florida, and then I'm going to be working for a technology company, getting to travel the country and help guys like you accomplish the things you want to do with it. Like, I never would have thought of that, but that's where this trade allows for. And I don't know, and I'm going to ask you this question. Is there another industry or another set of industries where learning a certain set of skills can allow you to do so much? Because we're forgetting that, you can go, facility managers make tons of money, and they work for a corporation, and they have this jack-of-all-trades knowledge where
median wage, I think, is $94,000 for a facility manager.
And they're not getting out of a truck. They're reporting to, usually it's one site or multiple sites. And do you know any other industry that allows for that opportunity?
No. And that is what I love so much, is that I really don't. And I can say that with absolute confidence because, and look, I'll admit, I might be wrong. But I don't know. To me, the trades are the only sector, the only industry collectively that can provide as many options as are available. I just don't.
I don't either.
I don't think so.
I don't either. It's when you really think about it and sketch it out, I think that's what people need to know. I think that's what kids out of college need to understand. they need to know that the avenues don't end at one place.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going down a street that is just a dead end, and you're going to be sitting, and that's as far as you can get.
Yeah. Look, it's kind of the reverse of going to college, right? Because if you think about it, let's say you enter a trade, in college, you mentioned you picked your major out of a book. So you started knowing what you were going to do.
Yep.
Okay. And then you were paying to do that. I mean, scholarships and stuff, but generally speaking, people do the same thing and they pay to learn that so they can do it. In the trades, if you were to get right into the trades, you're paid for what you do. So you have a head start there, but you're in this position where you know what you're going to be doing right now. You know what you're learning, but you're figuring out what direction you want to take it.
That's right.
Through your journeys, through your travels, as you grow as a person.
Yeah.
Ask any 18-year-old what they want to do the rest of their life. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? But by the time you reach 24, 25, you kind of have a better idea of what you like, what you don't like, and if you know a trade by that point and you're good at it, you can take it anywhere. Anywhere.
What did you want to be when you were 18?
Stuntman. And I was a stuntman.
Legit.
I told you,
did,
my whole family was in it, and I wanted to be a stuntman because I was good at it. It was basically a family business, and it was fun, and get to light yourself on fire, jump off buildings, and then
do all the things everybody wants to do in the movie, but
and that makes bragging about it, really, really fun. It's cool to be able to tell people. But as kind of the same thing. As I took that route, I realized that I didn't really want to. I wanted to build and grow something. I wanted to be respected in what I did, both for the mistakes and the good things. I wanted to have a sense of personal responsibility matched with a sense of accomplishment.
No.
And I had no idea what I was getting into. When I left the stunt business, I worked with my dad. I didn't even know what he did for a living, but I know he worked with his hands. And so, I turned wrenches for a long time, and I started, I learned, my background is commercial kitchen equipment, hot side, ovens, fryers, stoves, and I learned everything there was to know about it. And not everything, I don't, especially now, but, I learned a lot. It taught me a lot, taught me discipline. Above and beyond anything else, I had to be disciplined. It wasn't like the movie star life that I had originally anticipated, a lot of long days and hard work, but man, I love it. I wouldn't change a thing, And then once I got into that a little bit and I really understood what it was that I was doing, that's when, literally the stars aligned and I saw, okay, well, shit. I can do anything with this, to the average person, somebody from just looking at what I do, they say, that guy fixes fryers. But to me, I said, well, I've got the foundation to do anything, really, to do this and grow. And I started a YouTube channel in 2013, the first one in the sector to really, start teaching people what it was that I learned. Yeah. And so that's how it unfolds, I think, in the trades. Sometimes we arrive on accident, but we stay on purpose. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people need to understand is that you gotta give it a shot to know and to feel exactly what this is.
I completely agree with you.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
With where you're at right now.
All right.
What do you love most about what you do?
The people.
The people.
100%. The people. And this is no knock on. I really believe that I love everybody, and I know tons of different people. Currently, living in Chicago today, I wouldn't consider Chicago a blue collar town. Just wouldn't. But I think the ability to meet the people who are in this industry. When you think about the types of people that are here, it is genuine, hardworking, honest people. They are people that pride themselves on the job that they are going to do and making sure that they are doing it right. And So if those are the qualities you have as a person, then this is a great avenue for you. I can 100% tell you that. But those are the big things for me that I love about it is I still get to interact with the people that I grew up with interacting. And I get to be invested in their success. And how can we make your life better? How can we solve this problem? And it's not just XOI technologies. It's allowing people access to information to continue to grow their craft, to continue to grow their set of skills, to see somebody come in as a guy changing filters and changing belts to eventually taking his career to be on the control side. I mean, the control side of mechanical contracting is essentially software programming. I mean, it's just, that's the type of thing you can be doing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a phenomenal thing. So being around people like that, and people that day in, day out want to have a great company, want to do a great job, want to provide a great service, and want to continue to grow. Oh man, I mean, it's made the transition a heck of a lot easier, and it's probably the coolest part of my job.
Makes sense. I think that's what I would have to choose too if I was in your position. Just because it's got to be fun being able to interact with so many different people and really feel like you're contributing to the success of others, whether it's a PM technician or a CEO of a company, whatever it is. I mean, you've got your hands on
every piece of it.
Yeah, that is cool.
And I think one of the coolest parts is I literally travel the country. I mean, I get on like 90 flights a year, just going different places and meeting with groups and making sure they're doing the things they want to be doing with technology.
You know how I know you love it? You just showed me your new backpack.
I did. A new backpack. That's the exciting part of my life for all you that don't know.
Check this out.
It's a all-in-one, so I don't have to carry 2 bags anymore. It's super exciting for me. But no, I mean, it's, I go so many different places, so it's not even, today I'm in Phoenix. Next week I'm in Texas. Week after that, I think I'm in Seattle. I'm meeting people from all over the country that are kind of the same person.
Yeah.
And that's, it's not that, people think blue collar, they think, oh, it's, it's non-educated. It's, the more southern aspect, outside, working with your hands type of thing. And that's just not the case. You can be literally anywhere doing this. I mean, I know technicians that are solely responsible for keeping the lights on and the things moving and in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, they are responsible for this. And that's when you have that ability. I mean, you're doing something right.
Yeah. And I like to remind everybody that you can't throw a rock in this world, in this day and age, without hitting something that a tradesman was directly responsible for. I mean, and that's it. I mean, just wherever you are right now, look around, look at your phone, look at the. Don't watch this while you're driving, but look at your car. Everything that you see is the result of practical application at work, which is a result of the skilled trades. So without tradespeople, and we talk about this gap, the skilled trades gap, and more tradespeople are retiring than entering the business, and then this gap is growing wider and wider. Without those people at play, the world around us will look a whole lot different and will be a whole lot more expensive.
100%. That's it. Because,
really,
I mean, you say it, and let's break it down to simplicity terms for people out there listening. You live in an apartment building. Your rent is based on what they have to pay to maintain that.
That's right.
And if there are not enough people to maintain that and the rates go higher, your rent goes higher. And that is going to be, when you think about it from that side, we are definitely all in. It's going to touch us all.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's going to impact all of us. And I think, again, the best thing we can do is just continue to make people more aware about it. I think, here's a question for you. I know this isn't the direction it usually goes, but I got you.
It's all right.
Why do you think that technology and all the wonderful things that it does is part of the inhibitor of people getting into the trades? Because when I was growing up, and we were just talking about your go-kart trip you took with your team.
Yeah.
I had an old go-kart that we used to just, I had to fix it up myself. Like I had to, when this thing would break, I had to, obviously we got it new, but I had to figure out how to make this thing run.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do everything I needed to do, and I was the one solving that problem.
Yeah.
We used to build things. We used to do things like that. I don't have children. You do. Do you think that with technology and people being more engaged on a screen, it's keeping people from kind of getting to that point where they do something with their hands and they're like, holy shit, this is cool. That feeling.
Yes.
Okay.
In short answer, yes. But here's the caveat, is that I think that it could work exactly in the opposite direction.
Okay.
I think that technology has the potential to make people want to work with their hands. But I don't think, because of the way that basically society, pushes certain things, and I don't think that the trades and working with your hands are getting the kind of attention that would be necessary for technology to be an asset in that. In at least enabling the thought process or influencing the perception. Obviously that's what I'm trying to do here. Yeah. Bring this technology and show people, hey, if you don't believe me, stop listening to this podcast and go fix something. Yeah. Go do something. It doesn't matter. I mean, I even say that in my book, and I also say don't hold me responsible if you fucking break something, but it's the God honest truth. And so I think that what people consume via technology these days are ultimately what influences them. And so I think that
that's a good point.
I think that there could be a stronger push from a social media, electronic, technological standpoint for working with your hands. Because when you remind people that that thing that they're holding, that they're glued to, 23 hours a day, is built by somebody, and has to be in order for them to even do that. I think that's one of the biggest first steps, is just remind everybody that there's a certain satisfaction that comes from it, not just that comes from the use of it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I completely understand what you're saying. Yes.
So, just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap this up. I know eventually you got a flight to catch, but you're probably really excited to use that backpack again. So,
you know me too well. That's the thing. You just know me too well.
So, if you could say one thing to the listeners about choosing a career in the trades, one thing, what would that thing be?
Is it one thing that could be multiple sentences?
Sure. I encourage multiple sentences.
Good. Not just one word? All right. So I would say that you're going to meet the best people you could ever meet, and you're going to go places you never thought you could go. And that to me is going to sum it up in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
That's
a perfect answer.
Yeah. I mean, if I could drop this thing right now, I would. I'm just gonna say that. But no, that's
please don't tip my mic over.
It's really expensive, so I'll not do that. But no, that'd be my answer.
All right, very cool. So last question, and then we'll wrap this up. Promise, last one.
No, I enjoy this. Let's keep them coming.
So, personally.
Okay.
And when I say personally, I mean just your life in general, including your profession and your personal life, everything else. How do you define success, and how have the trades helped you to achieve it?
Ooh. It's funny you say that. I was talking to my mom the other day, and the idea of success came up, and we started talking about defining it. I think that success is defined differently in different parts of your life. I think that, obviously when you're a kid, success is ambiguous at best.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking to go to college, success is believing you got into the right one. I think that when you're looking to start a family, success is having a job that allows you to be financially stable. That is the definition of success for a lot of people. And it's funny, I was talking to my mom, and I said, I think where I am and where I've been for a long time and where I continue to want to be is success for me is being somebody that people can count on. And that's it. And a lot of factors play into that. But, and I guess this stems from just the kind of family that I grew up in is, we talked about the word respectful. That's the biggest thing he taught me, and that comes in many forms, and one of those forms is being respectful of the things that you say you're going to do and then following through on them.
Yeah.
And so, I think success is something that always moves, but even if the things I mentioned, getting into the right, as a kid, believing you got in the right college or trade school or whatever it may be, there's still an option in there to go to a trade school and start your career. Being able to be financially stable, something that the trades offers faster than any other career that is out there.
Yep.
You become a tradesman, out of the gate, you're making more than your buddy who graduated a 4-year degree. It's guaranteed. And so, as you look at, and this is one bum from, born and raised in Lakeland, Florida, saying, I think success is something that wavers. But I think through every aspect of your life, however it changes, the trades allows you to, no matter what, I believe, hit those milestones of what you deem success to be. And so, I think when it boils down to it, it is, for me, how being blue collar has impacted my life is it's made me want to be an accountable man at all facets of what I do. And that's it.
Now you can drop the mic. No, John, really, that's fantastic. Love that answer. Thank you very much for talking to me and our listeners.
Of course,
and
man.
Hopefully people can take a lot away from what you said here today. And who knows, maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Dude, I appreciate it. I've been waiting a long time for this. And dude, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. We all need to be more vocal about what this industry can do and how it can take somebody who may be a little bit lost and put them 100% on the right path and give them the life they want. So for what you're doing, very much appreciated by a lot of people that probably don't say it to you.
All right, well, I do appreciate that, John. It means a lot coming from you.
Awesome, right?
Really does, and really there's no better way to do that than XOI. Quite honestly, I mean, I've dropped XOI's name a lot on this podcast because I really believe in the premise of it, and it's going to help me. Believe me, I got big plans. It's gonna help me get this and what we do out there. So thank you for that, and for those of you listening, I'll put the link to XOI in the description at the bottom. But other than that, book release in June.
Yep.
I almost forget to push that every time. But finally officially announced it. Go to blueisthenewwhite.com, see what it's all about. Get yourself on the waiting list, and it'll drop in June.
84 days, right?
Yeah. You saw the website.
I saw it. I went.
All right, cool, John. I appreciate your time here today, man.
Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right.